idolized my dad in the paper, and she had told me my dad went to heaven.
Oh my.
So like my first experience as my first traumatic experience as a child was finding out my dad had committed suicide.
So sorry to hear that.
So my childhood was a bunch of it was a bunch of just trying to fill voids, fill that father I was missing, trying to fit in with the kids at school, and progressing into like grade school and stuff. My 8th grade year, my mother had got on drugs really bad. Um, so at that point, parents in the community back in Belpre, Ohio, where I was raised, Parkersburg, West Virginia area, where I was born. Everybody knew it was a small town, so everybody knew what was going on with my mom. So they didn't let their kids around us a lot. I remember riding my bike to football and basketball practice, and looking up in the stands and not seeing my parents up there, and these kids picking on me and bullying me, and I felt very alone.
And you mentioned that you have a brother as well. Were you guys close?
Yeah, that's my best friend.
Okay, well that's very cool. And he's older or younger?
Older brother.
Okay. So as you progressed into high school, did you start experimenting with alcohol or drugs?
So my brother was a senior when I was a freshman. So my mom was still kind of around at this point, and she was that cool mom. You know what I mean? She kind of let everybody party at the house, and I started partying with my older brother, drinking, and I remember like I didn't really like it, but I liked the attention I was getting from them. It was great. I was like I fit in somewhere.
So after high school, how did your life? What'd you do?
So I went to college. So I lived with my brother in Columbus. I went to college and I got a criminal justice degree. And then during college I was working 2 jobs. I ended up taking a couple semesters off and traveled 46 states moving furniture in a semi truck. So I did that. And then I remember it was like my 22nd birthday. My brother had given me half of a Percocet 30. And I had a great night on it. It was fun. We were drinking, having a good time. And so after that, I came back off the road and I graduated college. So I have an associate's in criminal justice. And so I met a girl. She's actually the mother of my child. I have a 6-year-old boy. And so all these things were possible. Her parents took me in and taught me business, and her mom showed me some nurturing love. She was she's a great mom. To this day, she's a great mom. So they were also religious. So she had got pregnant, and they invited us over. Her parents invited us for dinner and told us if we didn't get married before the child came, that they would have nothing to do with us. So we had got married, and I had started a business at the same time. And the business was very successful. I made a lot of money very quickly. I was traveling a lot while she was pregnant. And I was chasing all these things, this fulfillment, this void. So I got the house on 8 acres. I had motorcycles. I had my business was booming. I had guys working for me. I had 6 guys working for me, making a lot of money. But I got married for the wrong reasons, and I started holding a resentment against that and a resentment against God. And so it progressed emotionally first. It was just, I was miserable. So at that point, I remembered that feeling of that Percocet my brother had given me. So I started doing that, and I met a mentor. He was like a dad to me, but he also introduced me to meth, but he showed me love, so it was okay. So he tried to save my business. He tried to help me get out of the situation with my wife. He put me up in his childhood home that he grew up in, and he was sick and dying. He's older, and so I was taking care of him, and I was trying to get off drugs at the same time. I had lost my business and everything at this point, but I was still trying. There was many times that I wanted to commit suicide, wrote the letter, everything. I overdosed 10 times. They brought the body bag in a couple times. So I'm helping him out, and he inherited a bunch of property and stuff, and he was waiting on a bunch of court stuff to clear, and the goal was that I got clean, even though we were doing drugs together. He wanted to see me do better, but if I got clean, that he would give me a certain amount of money to start a business, and he gave me a place to stay away from my situation with my wife and my son, because it was miserable. Well, on the last day of moving all that stuff, being up on like a 3-day meth binge, I had woke up and my pants were on fire. I had fell asleep and caught his childhood home on fire.
Oh my.
So yeah, he had to pull me out of the house. Went to jail. So they put us up in a hotel for a while. We were doing drugs, also trying to get clean. He was one that could just pick it up and put it down and never understood it. So the powerlessness of this disease was like, I had never seen an overdose at this point. I had come back to the hotel one night, and he started, walking towards the bed, and he called me kiddo, and I called him Pops, because dad and son wasn't something we really liked saying. We had a lot of history with that, and so he'd give me a kiss on the forehead, and he sat down. He was like, and the last thing he winked at me, he's like, "I love you, kiddo." And he sat down, and I put his food out in front of him to serve him and make sure he was all right, because he was real sick, and he had passed out, and it sounded like he was snoring. In the back of my mind, I was like, he's overdosing. So I picked up the phone at the hotel, and I put it back down. I was like, I'm just going to clean everything up and then call the ambulance, because I knew I had a warrant on me. And then I did that, and I picked the phone back up. And I was like, put it back down. I was like, I knew I had some time, like, in these thoughts that I can't remember much of. I was like, I'm just going to do one more shot. Well, I did one more shot, and I woke up 5 hours later, and he was dead. It was August 3rd, 2017, I think. I took one last shot. I was like, I'm either going to kill myself or get into treatment. So I did that. They brought the body bag in that time and pronounced me dead, and I just came back to. Then I came down through here, through Portsmouth, through TCC, or Recovery Council. Came down through TCC, and I was still really sick. Really, I had a lot going on. And I got this false sense of pride about me. And, from the outside, everybody was like, this guy's got it going on. Like, they called me Captain Recovery. I got hired on a TCC before they really hired people very quickly. I got head of house at my transitional house. And then I went to Columbus one weekend. And I thought I had all this recovery, and somebody laid a Percocet 30 in my hand. All recovery went out the window. And I was out there for about 2 months. And this is one of the things where whatever it takes comes into play. On the back of my graduation treatment form, I actually drew a license plate on because somebody stole my temporary tag, and I drove 2 hours to get the treatment up here. Called my cousin. I was like, I need you back in treatment. So this time through, things started it was different. I was just defeated. I was desperate. I started working steps again and looking over my old steps and seeing where that self-deceit was coming into play.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's really crazy to me to, like, if you were to put like a lie detector test on me and ask me some questions, like, I would have passed that lie detector test. And it was wrong. So one of my biggest fears is self-deceit. So I did the steps, and I humbled myself and started taking suggestions a lot more. I got head of house again, didn't get to my head. I actually kept myself in the kitchen doing dishes. An older man told me, like, you'll find serenity in the bottom of that sink. So now all my sponsees, if I tell them, if you're an inpatient, you do all the dishes all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, train to be that husband and that father. You know, like, let's get some real. It's not so hard to do dishes for 2 or 3 people if you've been doing it for 15 for so long. So I did that, and I just kind of like sat back. I wanted to leave when I got back. You know, my pride and ego. I was like, I don't need this, and really, what I needed was to sit still and let God work in my life a little bit. Whatever God was at that point, because I didn't know, but just let something work. Just sit still.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, so I did that for a while, and I started going to church on Sundays and getting into some service work with them. I graduated inpatient treatment, and I got into the Haley House here. It's like a faith-based sober living, and a guy had explained to me, and because I struggled with religion and God and everything, but Brady W, great guy, he helped me a lot. He was like, there's an acronym for Holy Bible. He only left you basic instructions before leaving Earth. So it opened my mind a little bit. Mm-hmm. And when I opened my mind a little bit, like, these things like forgiveness came. And you know, I remember another seed was planted, like, man, you got to own your past. So like, forgiveness this time, like, my mom did the best she could with what she had. You know, I had many conversations with her over the last couple of years of like how she grew up and the trauma that she had faced. I asked questions about my dad and what he had been through, why he was an alcoholic, why would he want to commit suicide, and I got all these questions answered. And you know, not all of them, but I was able to get enough to where it was like they did the best they could with what they had. They didn't try to hurt me. I'm not a victim anymore, you know?
Yes.
What had happened to me it wasn't my fault. But now I'm a man, you know, I got to put away this victim mentality and take responsibility for myself as a man and put my big boy pants on, you know? Stop playing this victim and like, poor me. Like, it just got so old, and like, the world's out to get me. And so like, this forgiveness for me was like the groundwork for letting people into my heart. Once I was able to forget all these people that hurt me, the kids that picked on me, and you know, once I was able to really grasp, and it was just a decision I made one day, I'm just going to do it. And then it was a progression towards the levels of forgiveness that I gave them. Like, situations would come up and I would feel these emotions and I would be like, I forgive them. I'm not a victim. I'm a man. You know what I mean? And so I did that this time. And then it's crazy how it happened, because like, when I started to do that, and I started, you know, I was selfish for so long. I started to just serve people. I was like, all right, so my goal is just to help as many people as I can. Do dishes, help at the church, and all these things. And when I started doing that, people started coming into my life. That was planting seeds. That was teaching me things. And I was able to allow them to love me until I learned how to love myself a little bit. So this happening, I started growing in my faith, and I went to Wendy's. I humbled myself. So the last job I had, I told you I had the house and the life and the 8 acres, and I made, you know, close to $300,000 that the year before I started falling. I walked 1.3 miles to Wendy's every morning at 3:30 in the morning. And I walked into that place with an attitude like, this isn't the end all be all, but I'm going to I'm going to take my best attitude into this place and humble myself. And it taught me a lot about myself. Many mornings I didn't want to wake up and go. Many mornings, but I stayed grateful. Every day I wasn't there or in group, I was out in a suit. People know me around Portsmouth for oh, you're the guy with the briefcase and the suit and the penny loafers. So every minute I wasn't working or in group, I was out filling out applications. I was asking people to introduce me, or I just had good references because I was just serving people and I had good character. And so I did that, and I got turned down for a couple jobs, and I picked my head up, put my shoulders back, and I went back. I stayed at Wendy's and I kept doing the thing. And then I got a call from Portsmouth Metropolitan Housing Authority here in Portsmouth. It's one of the better jobs, better careers, and they offered me a job with a free apartment.
Oh, wow.
5 months clean, and they knew that, and I told them all those things.
Mm-hmm.
So between that job and my accountability there, and I'm forever grateful for them and all these mentors that I've had. And I kept serving at church. I kept working, and the thing is, I don't have this stuff perfect. I mess up a lot, and I wake up the next morning and I start over. I start my day over, a lot still to this day. But I just kept, life for me, it became about just progressing and getting a little better. I know it's cliche, but just getting a little bit better each day, making a little better decision. Doing all these things, and I was building up some spiritual conditioning, I guess you could say. So on July 3rd last year, I received a phone call from my older brother, and he said, "Chad, Mom's dead." Regardless of everything that I went through with her, that was my best friend. That was my first love. She was everything to me and my brother. She tried her hardest, and these are some of the things I learned about her. She tried her hardest to find us a dad that's going to care for us like their own. She tried her hardest to get over her trauma and being molested when she was a kid. Thank God something showed up for me. I got to go back to Parkersburg, and I got to plan her whole funeral. I'm paying for her funeral, organized it all, and I showed up there, and I was the rock for my family. It was just absolutely amazing that there's this story. It's the one footprints in the sand. But God, you said you'd never leave me nor forsake me. Why, when at my weakest points, was there only one footprints in the sand? It was like, son, that's when I was carrying you. I actually learned what that meant. And today, that faith, no matter if I understand it fully or not, that faith in something, that everything's going to be all right, gets me through a lot of bad days. The persistence and perseverance that I had and just showing up every day got me my own place. To where when I have days like this, I can go home, I can get a little snuggie, order me a pizza, watch my TV, call my son, progressing as a father. I got a motorcycle and go out and get on my motorcycle and just do something for a little adrenaline rush. There's so many small things today that I'm more aware of and grateful for.
So as part of your mission and being able to help others, Um, are there some words of wisdom that you may be able to share with, somebody that's really struggling, having a bad day, something that really speaks for you um, when you are having an off day that you could maybe share?
There's a few. Um,
You can give a few.
yeah. So the faith thing, God's got this. Feelings are like buses. Another one will be by in 15 minutes. Staying consistent in action when the feelings are going up and down. You take your butt and your mind will follow. And another one is like, I just got to get through this day.
Mm-hmm.
So the only two things that I got to get 100% right in recovery at any point, when the whole world just is just on your shoulders, two simple things. Don't leave. Don't get high. Like if you're in treatment, don't leave, and don't get high. But the one ultimate rule is like, no matter what, whatever it takes, I'm not getting high. Putting gaps in time helps that. Hitting a meeting, and throwing on a movie, having yourself like a little self-care night. Even if you're in treatment, like I did it all the time. I got the guys together. It's like, hey guys, let's bake some cookies, and let's all agree on a movie, which was hard in treatment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And let's sit down and watch a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Finding gratitude, that's getting back into that. All right, what can I do right now that'll just put a gap in that time? Mm-hmm. And tomorrow, like, I'll reevaluate it. If I still want to get high tomorrow, or if I still want to leave, I'll do it tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And when I was in treatment, especially, like if I still want to leave tomorrow, I'll do it tomorrow. And tomorrow became tomorrow. Stop making it all about you. Turn that selfishness into selflessness. And that's the best way I ever get out of any horrible times. Stop thinking about me and my poor feelings, even though they're valid, and help somebody else.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for coming out and joining us today and sharing your story. You are proof that there's way out of addiction and into the freedom of recovery. And your story is definitely going to help somebody out there who is struggling. So thank you so much.